Charlie Kirk was one of the most recognizable conservative activists in the United States. He co-founded Turning Point USA, an organization dedicated to shaping political conversations on college campuses. Known for his fiery speeches and uncompromising stance on conservative values, Kirk had built a following that extended well beyond young voters. His media appearances, books, and podcasts had made him a household name in political circles. Whether you agreed with him or not, he was a figure who demanded attention. His influence on the youth conservative movement was undeniable, and his ability to draw crowds made him a fixture at universities and political events across the country. On September 10, 2025, Kirk arrived at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah, for an outdoor event. The gathering was intended to be another one of his regular speeches to students and community members. The stage was set, cameras were rolling, and a large audience had gathered to hear him. What happened next would shock not only those in attendance but the entire nation. During the event, shots were fired, and chaos erupted across the courtyard. Witnesses described the sound of gunfire, people screaming, and a sudden rush as students and attendees tried to run for safety. In the midst of this, Charlie Kirk was struck by a bullet. He was quickly rushed to emergency care, but despite the efforts of medical teams, he did not survive. The shooting marked the sudden and violent end of a man whose career had defined a generation of conservative activism. The news spread instantly. Within hours, major networks, social media platforms, and online communities were flooded with reactions. Supporters mourned what they saw as the loss of a leader who inspired countless young conservatives, while critics, though sharply opposed to his politics, expressed shock at the violence that had unfolded on a university campus. The Utah Valley University community was particularly shaken. Vigils were organized, with students and faculty leaving flowers, candles, and handwritten messages in Kirk's memory. The university administration responded by canceling classes temporarily and offering counseling services to help students cope with the traumatic event. Authorities acted swiftly. Investigators identified and arrested the suspect, 22-year-old Tyler James Robinson. His arrest provided the first step in piecing together the shocking attack. Prosecutors wasted no time in filing charges: aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, obstruction of justice, witness tampering, and committing a violent offense in the presence of a child. These charges represent some of the most serious offenses in the legal system, and the aggravated murder charge carries the possibility of the death penalty. Law enforcement confirmed that Robinson had been taken into custody without further violence, and he was immediately held in jail pending trial. In the days following his arrest, details about Robinson began to emerge. According to prosecutors, investigators had uncovered handwritten notes and digital messages suggesting that the attack had been premeditated. These materials, according to court filings, indicated a disturbing level of planning. While officials have not publicly released all of the evidence, they confirmed that both the notes and the text messages pointed to Robinson preparing for the shooting in advance. For prosecutors, this evidence will play a crucial role in proving intent, while for the defense, it could become the center of their challenge as they prepare to argue against its admissibility in court. Robinson's first court appearance came shortly after his arrest. Because of the high-profile nature of the case and heightened security concerns, his initial appearance was conducted virtually, with Robinson appearing from jail via a video link. Wearing a green prison vest, he sat silently as the judge formally read out the charges against him. The hearing itself was brief but significant. The judge confirmed the charges, emphasized the seriousness of the allegations, and ordered Robinson to remain in custody without bail. Prosecutors highlighted their evidence during the hearing, referencing the notes and text messages, and made it clear that they intended to pursue the case to its fullest extent. At this stage, Robinson did not enter a formal plea, which is common during an initial appearance, as the defense team typically requests time to review the evidence before making such a declaration. The courtroom atmosphere, even though conducted partially through a video link, was tense. Members of the press, legal observers, and even some members of the public were watching closely. The gravity of the charges, combined with the prominence of the victim, ensured that this case would remain at the center of national attention. Legal analysts have already begun speculating about the challenges ahead. The prosecution will work to frame Robinson as a deliberate and dangerous individual who planned and executed a calculated act of violence. The defense, on the other hand, is likely to question the credibility of the evidence, explore Robinson's mental health background, and attempt to cast doubt on the prosecution's narrative. The trial, once it begins, will not only focus on the fate of Robinson but will also reopen painful wounds for Kirk's family, his supporters, and the broader community. Already, the tragedy has sparked debates about public safety at universities, the rise of political violence, and how deeply divided rhetoric can escalate into real-world harm. Commentators across the political spectrum have weighed in, some framing the attack as a wake-up call about the dangers of extremism, while others have stressed the importance of avoiding speculation until the courts render a verdict. In Utah Valley University's halls and in the surrounding community, the aftermath of the shooting remains heavy. Students who were present on the day of the attack describe difficulty processing what they witnessed. Professors have spoken about trying to guide their students through grief and fear, and administrators have worked to restore a sense of security on campus. Memorials continue to be held, as people gather not only to honor Charlie Kirk but also to stand together in the face of tragedy. For many, it is a reminder that violence can strike unexpectedly, even in places meant for learning and debate. The legal process itself is still in its earliest stages. Robinson's next court dates will determine the timeline for discovery, the sharing of evidence between prosecution and defense, and the filing of pretrial motions. Issues such as whether the handwritten notes and text messages will be admitted as evidence, whether mental health evaluations will play a role in the defense, and whether the prosecution will formally seek the death penalty are all questions yet to be answered. Each of these steps will be closely watched, dissected by legal experts, and broadcast across the nation. The case of Charlie Kirk's death is not only a criminal trial but also a moment that reflects broader themes in American society. It highlights the vulnerability of public figures, the tension on university campuses where political speech often sparks heated emotions, and the way violence can transform a political figure into a symbol. For supporters, Kirk is remembered as a leader whose message resonated with young conservatives. For others, his politics were deeply controversial, but even they acknowledged that the manner of his death was shocking and unacceptable. In the months ahead, as Tyler Robinson's case moves through the legal system, the story will remain one of the most closely followed trials in the country. Journalists will continue to cover every development, lawyers will battle over evidence and interpretation, and the public will keep debating what happened and why. The outcome will not only determine the future of one young man now facing the weight of the law but will also leave a lasting mark on the conversation about political violence in America. Charlie Kirk's sudden death has already changed the lives of many. His family, his supporters, and the students who watched that day will never forget what happened. And as the court process unfolds, the world will be watching, seeking justice, seeking answers, and reflecting on the fragile line between free speech, public debate, and the violence that can sometimes erupt when divisions run deep.